Hey everybody, welcome back to another deer tour. We're headed west right now. Gonna start hunting in 2 days. I'm gonna meet up with Greg this evening, try to do some scouting, find out a few different places that we can camp. Keith and Ted are headed up tomorrow to meet up with us. Then Jake, Zach, and Nick are all gonna be hunting right up the road. We came out west last year, we got really close to killing a buck, but me, Ted, and Jake all ended up eating our tags. So we're going out this year to try to get some redemption. It's 3 o'clock right now. I should be there within 4 or 5 hours. Looking forward to it. Let's see if we can find a buck.
Pretty country.
I was a little nervous looking at the map. Like the water sources look kind of skinny, but there's plenty of cover in there to house some deer. Yeah. I think we'll find them. On the way in, there was a green field that was on private right next to public, but it was a huge green field that they irrigate all the time, and all the bedding covers down there on public. So you would think that the deer are down there on the public, maybe just coming out to the private field to feed. I don't know. I was gonna go and glass right off of that point, but it may not be high enough. You might just be looking.
You're just gonna be looking at the cottonwoods. Yeah, there's not as much elevation right here as there was in the other unit we hunted last year. It was easier to get up high in glass.
Yeah, it may prove to be a challenge, but cockleburrs in it. Looks like deer tracks in it. This old dry creek right here, and there's a bunch of green vegetation in the bottom of it. And I can see some cockleburrs down there growing, some cattails, and then some milkweed and stuff growing along the edge of it. And last year, when we were hunting these creeks, that's where a lot of the deer wanted to be at, was right down next to these things, browsing on all that green vegetation. This is real similar habitat to where we were hunting last year when we got our butts kicked. We're coming back this year armed with more knowledge about how to deal with these things in this type of habitat. We got here 2 days early for a reason, so we could scout and hopefully find some bucks before opening day. That's what we're going to try to do. Another one out in front. We might just go right here. Be able to see a bunch of elk, which normally I'd be real fired up about. Rather see a deer right now, a whitetail. Seen every dang other thing. There's pronghorn, there's mule deer, nice mule deer, and then piles of elk. No whitetails yet. All bulls. I think there's 9 of them down there. That's quite the image there. It's the last day of August, and tomorrow's opening day out here for archery season. Kind of got up on this little bluff overlooking this big alfalfa field down below us, which is on private ground, but we're right next to it on public. And most of the animals are filtering off of the alfalfa back down into the creek bottoms on the public land where we can hunt. We're gonna need to get back closer towards these creek bottoms and stuff, I think. The deeper we go into this public piece, the more water, more permanent water and more creek bottom habitat we're going to run into. I'm hoping that that's where the whitetails are at. Me and Greg are fixing to pack up our stuff and go down there and try to find out. Young buck, like a 2-year-old or a 1.5 years. That's good. We got whitetails. There's bluffs, there's rock outcroppings and stuff right down there just above the trees, but they're just above them. Like you're just staring into the tree canopy down there. You can't get high enough to really look in. been a pretty eventful morning so far. Pile of elk, pile of pronghorn, mule deer everywhere. But we eventually got eyes on some whitetails in this river right here behind me. I saw one doe over here, and then 2 does, a fawn, and probably like a 2-year-old buck right down in there in the exact spot where those elk went in. So we're trying to figure out where we can put guys tonight, but the whitetails are definitely sucked down right there next to the creek, especially right now because it's so dry out here. We're gonna pack our stuff and get back to the car and make a game plan for tonight, but that's the plan this evening, is just to split up, cover as much ground with our eyes as possible, see if we can find a nice buck to chase tomorrow.
Moving the herd. Greg's over here filming an episode of Yellowstone.
Took a break midday and came down here and found the very limited amount of shade that we could find underneath this big cottonwood. Hunting in the heat, there's a lot of this midday sitting. Got to get my pack ready for tomorrow. But I suppose we could probably show you all that next. All right, I'll kind of go through my pack here. I just got done loading it down. The gear that we use for hunting out west, or for really any type of open country whitetail situation, is a little bit different than the traditional stuff that we use back at home. But this pack is actually my elk hunting pack. It's a frame pack. It's an XO Mountain Gear frame pack that my buddy Cody Kellum from Born and Raised gave me a few years ago when we went elk hunting with those guys. But I like it a lot for these western situations because I've got a lot more glassing gear than I usually do. When I hunt around home, all I've got is my binos, my chest harness, and then my milkweed pouch that hangs off the side of my binoculars. But out here, you're getting up on these high knobs and you're glassing long distances, sometimes over a mile, trying to catch a whitetail moving through the brush. So just sitting here hand holding your binoculars doesn't work real well. I learned that the hard way when we went coos deer hunting out west a few years ago with Randy Newberg and the Hush guys. I learned a lot about glassing in just a couple of days with those guys, because this is exactly how they hunt most of the time.
They laughed at us a lot.
They did. They laughed at us a lot. We were the butt of many jokes. But now we kind of have our stuff together, at least a little bit. The first thing I'll discuss here is binos. I've got just my standard 10x42 Vortex Vipers, but I've got that Vortex binocular adapter, if you can see that right there. I've got my bino tripod right there. Obviously this is telescoping out so that you can get set up, and then that adapter goes right onto those binoculars. Because if you're trying to spot a deer moving from 800-900 yards away and you're bobbing around like this, it's going to be really difficult. You actually have to grid across the landscape and sit here and stare at those binoculars as they're static, not moving at all, to pick up that little bit of movement, which will tip you off to where the deer is. We started spotting way more game really fast just by using binoculars on a tripod. So that's my bino tripod. Then I've got my, oops, sorry Greg, I ruined your topic. I've got my binocular, or my spotting scope tripod here. That's a Vortex Viper HD spotter. We actually don't spot, or at least I don't spot a lot of these deer out here with the spotting scope. I always have it with me. I usually spot them with the binoculars, and then you get on them with the spotting scope to get a closer look, and we'll attach like the phone to the back of it with whatever apparatus we're using on the spotter. I mean, there's phone scopes, there's mag views, there's all kinds of them out there on the market. But this is just to get a closer look at what the deer are doing. The majority of them that I spot are usually off of the binoculars and the tripod. I got lots more stuff in here. Thermocell gear, there's mosquitoes everywhere. It's early in the season. We fight them all the time. Knife sharpener, got my tags in there, my headlamp. I've got game bags. I've got my stockisons here, which I have not used a bunch, but out here in this real dry, crunchy type of habitat, I'm really anxious to use them. So if we go on a stalk here in the next couple days and it's real calm out without much wind cover, I may be trying these things. And they don't weigh anything. I mean, they're super light to throw in the pack. And I've got a Sawyer water filter kit, then I think it's a 6x8 foot tarp. Very handy, very nice to have. Then the only other thing is my bottle of water. It's really dry, arid climate out here. Me and Greg are just slugging water all day long. That's pretty much what's in the glassing pack. It's about 3 o'clock in the afternoon now. Me and Greg are gonna split up. He's gonna go to one glassing knob tonight overlooking the alfalfa that we were at this morning when we saw all those huge bulls. And then I'm gonna go to a different spot on the opposite side of the creek and see if we can spot a buck. But yeah, it's good to be back out in the whitetail woods. Unconventional whitetail woods, mind you, than we're used to. It's crazy in the places that these things can figure out how to live in. It's about 6 o'clock and I just got settled in here at my little glassing spot. I got my thermocell out because the mosquitoes are epic out here right now. And if you can hear that noise behind me, I got an oil rig right here over my shoulder that's cranking away. This morning, Greg and I were across this river bottom up on top of that next ridge, probably a mile and a half from here, mile from here. And a few minutes ago, I just saw him walk across it. He's going to glass that big alfalfa field where we saw those elk this morning and see if any whitetails come out to it. From where I'm at right here, I'm not super high, but I can see down in there in a bunch of different spots for a mile of this creek bottom. So the only whitetails we've seen so far have been right down up there against it. So I'm gonna start looking. Hopefully they'll start moving here in the next 30 minutes or so. I'm getting eaten alive by mosquitoes. I got this thermocell running and it ain't even phasing them. There's so many of them on me. I mean, literally hundreds of them. Ah, this is enough. I want to call her good. I can't even look. Thinking about was like, man, if I was in the river bottom right now, I don't know that I'd be able to even kill anything.
Be getting lifted up by
Yeah.
mosquitoes.
Right. They were so bad last year that we had a buck and 5 does at 55, 60 yards, and we just stood up. We just took off running, and we were just like, we don't even care. Well, that's where I was thinking about going in the morning, is maybe trying to get down that 2-track as far as I can.
You think send a group there and then the other group go over here or something?
Yeah. But I also think as little as that doe and 2 fawns were moving around, there could have easily been a buck or 2 back in the timber there that was just slowly getting up and browsing on stuff that would have been really hard for me to see him. Got about a 2.5 mile walk.
Yes, we do.
It's all downhill to get there. So that's good. It's gonna suck coming out when it's 90 degrees. But
It's nice and cool right now. So
yeah, it ain't gonna be. Let's go see if we can find one. Keith and Greg are going to another spot down the road to glass. So we're gonna have eyes on a lot of country this morning. Me and Ted are going into one of the most remote locations right off the bat here, just because we've spent a day and a half scouting and we haven't found a buck yet. So we're kind of pulling out all the stops here. Hopefully it works.
About the same size. I think with that many up and coming, there'd be some really good bulls in this unit. It'd be kind of sweet to hunt them in a creek bottom with a bunch of cottonwood. It'd be different.
Right, way different than you usually think of.
That's all we're gonna have for an episode, is just giant mule deer and elk footage. Some fat, healthy suckers.
Sucking on elk.
Been feeding on these elk, yeah.
Jeez.
We're getting our butts kicked so far. Well, hey, that's not uncommon.
I've seen coyote, pronghorn, and cattle.
Lots of cattle, 0 deer. And we're looking over like 1.5 miles of river bottom, like we should see 1 doe or a tiny buck out there. At least that's what I think, but we don't. So I keep hoping that we're eventually gonna find a pocket where there's a buck or two, and they're gonna be big, and we're gonna be able to deal with them because they're gonna be in the middle of public land, because there's tons of public land here. That might be a whitetail. I just can't tell because I need the spot and scope.
I never saw him.
I see it right now. It's a whitetail.
Buck?
Uh-huh.
Big one?
Yep. Wait a minute. Yeah, it looks like a young buck. Just a kind of a narrow rack.
Yeah.
It is a whitetail, boy. Hiked a couple miles this morning looking for that. Never saw anything like it. I just got in the car and farted around for a while, looked at some antelope and some prairie dogs, and drove over here. It's like, this area looks a little better, and then boom, whitetail. He's headed out across that wide open now. Day 3, it's opening day. We got here early to scout. I feel pretty good. I feel like I haven't complained that much yet. It's hot. This is enough. It's 1,000 degrees out here. It's making it a little bit more difficult. Where's a mosquito live in this? Where's anything live in this?
Spirits are still high. We haven't even gotten out on a hunt yet, so.
It's opening day. It's opening day, and we're looking ahead to possibilities of leaving.
Yeah. I thought this area was really good and that there was lots of big bucks. Turns out there's not. At least not that we've found thus far. We're still trying to find them though. Mosquitoes are epic. Oh my gosh, they're a nightmare. The closer that you get down here to the river bottom, the worse they are.
Well, let's get down there and go kill them. That's about all there is to do.
We're gonna go to the spot where we saw a small buck this morning, where between the 4 of us, we saw 1 whitetail this morning off the side of the gravel road. And if we don't spot any deer tonight, and we don't spot any deer in the morning, we're probably gonna leave here and go try to help Jake in North Dakota get a buck.
We're going that way.
You can kind of see it, how it goes across the top of that bluff over there.
Mm-hmm.
And if we can get through there, that will save us about a 2-mile walk.
No big deal. Oh, a pilot would make it down there.
Yeah, the pilot would, probably. There wasn't a 2-track that bent to the right. There's a deer on your right. Deer on your right.
It's a whitetail.
Are you sure?
Yep.
Doe. In that shady side. Hey, that's a good sign, huh?
We just had to get back in here with him.
Nice. This thing goes up another probably 400 or 500 yards and then cuts up top. We'll just burn past these things. Hopefully we don't booger any bucks. If we do, it's probably not the end of the world with the truck.
Yep. Whitetail.
Oh. It is a little buck. Little spike. There's a spike bull right behind him. Spike got jumped by a couple of spikes. Mosquitoes getting
It
at
begins
us.
already. They're coming in.
Right up here, it's where it bends. And pretty much right where those bulls are going up is where it bends and goes up top. You know, or we can park right here and just try walking. In there.
Yeah. One of them was a spike.
Hey,
You said stone.
Yeah.
Pretty nice ones.
Buggered him with the truck anyway. But we need to stop here. I think. Yeah.
Two nice bucks. Probably better than walking up on them, honestly.
Oh, way better than walking up on them. Like if we would have got out of the truck and took off walking up this path here, we would have buggered them. And they're going to do just like those does did and run 200 or 300 yards down through there, and then they're going to calm back down.
Truck on here in
Right.
2 months.
Yeah.
We're on them.
We're on them. They were hard antlered, both of them, I thought.
Yeah, they were.
Oh, yeah.
It's game on now. You might want to bring that along, Greg. Oh yeah. Get it on your face. I'm just gonna pack this just like this. Pretty much got all that to hunt in the next 3 or 4 days. So we got 0 wind right now. I'm thinking we play this real conservative. We got like 2.5 miles, close to 3 miles of river bottom. We saw that little buck way down there this morning, Ted. Now that we're up top, we can move freely. Dang, this is gonna work really good anytime we got north winds. There's a few bluffs over here, or buttes, or rock outcroppings, whatever you call them. We're gonna hook around and then creep out on those and look down in the bottom below us. All right, it took us a while. We eventually got back here, circled around where we jumped those bucks. We probably came 700 yards from where we spooked them, and they ran this way, but we bumped them with the truck, so we're assuming that they didn't go too far. We're just gonna chill out here. We can see a really long distance this direction, at least a mile down through that bottom. So we're gonna be using the spotting scopes to try to watch that far edge of the river bottom down there, and then glassing with binos right here in front on the close stuff. Oh, right here, there's deer, mule deer. Yeah, muley buck. That's pretty much what I want to be ready for. I was down there. But we probably can't go now. Not with that thing right there. I don't even see him now. Oh. I mean, if we can barely see elk down in there, think about how hard it's going to be to see whitetails in it. Just isn't enough of a vantage point. This little creek and that river is pretty dang important. We're just gonna have to pop those. Pop and move back and then pop over and just try to literally sneak up on one and glass them right down below us. Didn't end up seeing any of those deer, any of those whitetails that we bumped into earlier. This is going to be tricky, being able to spot deer in this bottom. And the tree canopy is blocking us from seeing in there real well. Definitely a positive evening though. Yeah, we needed that because I was getting discouraged. I was like, where are there any whitetails around? Because we know there's a few, but not very dang many. We just had to get in the bottom with them. I mean, and that mule deer, how far did he move all night? 30 yards, and then right back embedded. And you'd never see that from a glass and knob a half mile away. Tomorrow, if we get a little bit of wind cover, wind noise during the day, we should be able to sneak out to the edges of that bluff, glass down below, look at 150, 200 yards of that creek bottom. Then when the coast is clear, back off, move down another 200 or 300 yards and keep doing that all the way down through here until we find them. That might be our only play, short of getting in there and actually just setting up in the bottom and hoping that they walk by you, which might also work too if you get right along that creek.
That's exactly what we needed right there.
Yeah.
Finally found some whitetails.
You'd think it'd be easy to do since they're just living in a creek bottom that's 250 yards wide. And it's wide open all around them, but it ain't. Let's get out of here. We're getting annihilated. Oh, whoa.
He was all coiled up and ready to roll, Greg. That was a close call there.
Thing was 5 feet away, coiled.
Oh yeah, I saw you jump and I could see it right there. That's why I said I thought he struck you. Literally just walked a couple miles through this stuff, never saw one of them. Was blitzing out of there in the dark, not a light on, just gomming. And then we're driving out and Greg gets out to check. What are you checking for, a rut?
Just to check for clearance. I just wanted to make sure I didn't need to go up and around or something. So I stopped here real quick, and then just as I stepped out, that thing was right here. Rattled at me, coiled up.
And Greg just about stepped on.
Well, I jumped back and probably put a dent in my truck. Ran into that.
That's what I heard.
Nowhere else to go.
Let's go right over that rock bluff on our hands and knees. And
All right.
Well, let's start out.
Yeah.
We'll get him taken care
Get some
of.
air flowing through here and try to get them out.
Yeah, we'll get him out. Jeez.
They did this in my car, and I just started smacking them, so the whole top of the car is just smeared in blood, basically.
Yeah. Yeah, but rattlesnakes and plague of mosquitoes.
And 2 whitetails. It's the end of opening day. Pretty eventful day. Had a little bit of a scary moment there at the end when Greg about got tagged by that rattler, but
Still in one piece. Me and War were talking about it on the way back. We're like, if you're gonna get bit by a rattlesnake, that'd be the place to get bit. Right by the truck like that. Just hop right back in and head for the hospital.
we got a sweet podcast on that, on the Hunting Public podcast. Was it Zach and Jake that interviewed Bruce?
Yep, I think so.
Bruce has actually been bit by a rattlesnake.
Twice, I think.
Yeah.
Got bit twice by him.
Yeah. So he's been through the entire process. If y'all want to learn about that, you should check out that podcast. It's pretty interesting hearing his story about that.
Yeah.
But
We should probably listen to it again, get a little refresher.
regardless of the snake encounter, spirits are still pretty high compared to what they were 6 hours ago. We saw them. We ran into 2 really nice ones and then saw several other whitetails, and we've got 3-4 miles of public river bottom up through there that we can chase them on in the next few days. We're gonna get after them all. We're gonna get on that bluff and see if we can spot them down there. In the meantime, if y'all want to go watch Ted and Greg's stalk from out here last year, just click on this link right here.
Other side.
Just click on this link right here. Thanks for watching. We'll see y'all.